Well, thanks, Vanessa, for the intro. Is this? Yeah, this is on. Seconding that, thanks for coming in the cold, and welcome to Friday Night AI. This is an event that we started now several years ago, really with the intent of fostering this kind of conversations that we are looking forward to having tonight on various topics that are of interest, both to us as researchers in AI, but also to the community. And tonight, we are going to discuss, as you know, AI and deepfakes. And this is where we see several of the impacts of AI. I think it's very hard to ignore that, and we see a lot of positive implications. But then we also see how AI has been generated synthetic audio, images, and videos. I'm sure all of you have probably got to see some of those videos, and it's making it harder and harder to distinguish between real videos and those that are fabricated. So these are referred to as deepfakes, and they've been used in a variety of ways. They can be used for good purposes in entertainment, but they have also been used to spread political misinformation or personal harassment. So the questions that we are hoping to address tonight is, how do these AI systems work? How did we get to deepfakes in the first place? What are the risks that they introduce for trust? Which I think it's a big risk, the fact that we now are having a hard time to trust the information that comes our way, but also to safety and democracy. And what are the ways in which we can defend ourselves against this? So this conversation has two experts who have been working in this space. We have, on the further right, Khalid Malik, who is a professor of computer science, also director of cybersecurity at the Center of College of Innovation Technology at University of Michigan, Flint. He is also the co-founder of Probe Truth. His research focuses on the integrated areas of AI, healthcare, and information security to design secure, intelligence, and decentralized decision support systems by using multimodal, federated, trustworthy, and neurosymbolic AI. Focusing primarily on his work on cybersecurity, he is emphasizing the development of forensic examiners for assessing authenticity, integrity, and veracity of audio, video, and image content, including the detection of deepfakes. He has numerous awards, including an Oakland Young Investigator Research Award, the SECS Outstanding Research Award, and also Distinguished Associate Professor Award. We also have Cliff Lampe, who is a professor in the School of Information at the University of Michigan. He also serves as Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. His research explores social and technical structures of large-scale technology-mediated communication, and the projects that Cliff is working on are ranging from harms and benefits of social media to the use of information technology to help cities engage with the people who live in them. He is a fellow of the ACM, recognizing his contributions to the field. We also have Yara over here in the front. You will see her in a bit. She's a PhD student in the AI lab at the University of Michigan, and she works on computational models for emotion recognition and mental health. So for the first 10 minutes, we will have an hands-on activity just to get you to experience. You probably experienced already deepfakes, but in the context of our conversation, to explore that. And after that, there will be a few questions that the panelists will be addressing around different aspects that are relevant for this topic. And we'll reserve the last 15 minutes or so for you to ask questions. So please make a note of any questions that you have, either now or that will come throughout the conversation, and there will be an opportunity to address those at the end. So just to give credits, Friday Night AI, today's event in particular, is a collaboration between Michigan AI, also the UM Flint College of Innovation and Technology, School of Information, and the Ann Arbor Public Library was our gracious host tonight. And the event is on YouTube, broadcasted live as we speak. All right, so I will invite Yara. Please take it from here.
Hello. Oh, that was loud. Hi. Thanks for coming out in the cold. I have a quick activity to just kind of set the stage, especially if you're maybe not super familiar with deepfakes. The first part will be a quiz, so I encourage you to, not graded, but maybe a prize. So I encourage you to scan the QR code, and that way we'll be able to track who did what on the quiz. Our panelists, feel free to also join as well. Okay, we're getting a few more scans, and then I'll get us started. Okay, and the QR code will stay up on the next slide. So if you need it, actually, it'll be in a second, but it'll be there again. So if you haven't been able to join. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a set of pictures and videos, and your goal is to let me know which one you think is generated by AI. And yeah, so let's get started. This is photo A, very cute. We have some cat and dog friends. And this is photo B. Okay. Yeah, it'll be active in a second. I'm sorry, I haven't started it yet. And these are them together. And so just take a good look and let me know which one you think is AI generated. So I'll give you another 5 seconds, and then I'll start the quiz. So the photos are gonna disappear, but, all right. So the quiz should be active now. Same QR code, so you don't need to rescan it if you've already scanned. But if you missed it, it's here again. And I will set up the question. And you have 15 seconds. 5. Okay, you all chose photo B, and the answer was photo A, so we can look at them again. So yeah, just to demonstrate, maybe if you're familiar with the AI that's, got extra fingers or the proportions are kind of weird. This one got me too. All right, we're gonna do it again. Here's photo A. Here's B. And one more. Here's C. Here's all of them together. All right. Get ready. And 15 seconds. Which one's AI? Okay. All right, pretty split. If you chose photo B, you were right. But it's a hard one. So I actually had to double check because I was very worried about the other two being AI, but they were taken before generative AI, so in like 2017. But crazy, right? All right. Ooh, sorry. Could we get the audio? Okay.
You guys, this blush has been living in my makeup bag lately. It's called Peach Bloom, and it is the most effortless wash of color. I just tap a little on the brush, swirl it on the apples of my cheeks, and it gives me that cozy just...
Okay. Do you guys want to watch it again?
You guys, this blush has been living in my makeup bag lately. It's called Peach Bloom, and it is the most effortless wash of color. I just tap a little on the brush, swirl it on the apples of my cheeks, and it gives me that cozy just...
All right. Was it AI or not? Okay, it was true. This was AI generated, but again, that's crazy, right? Okay, now we're gonna choose between two videos. So here's video 1, or A, sorry. All right, I'm gonna show it to you again, but I will show you video B first. So that was A. Here's B. And here they are together. Okay. All right, make your decision and let me know what you think. All right, so you guys chose B, and that was correct. But again, a hard one. If you look carefully, the blur of the filter goes behind the numbers, and his hands are a little weird, but hard to tell on the first watch, right? Okay, this is just a trivia question, true or false. Making a convincing deepfake requires extensive technical knowledge. Okay. So you guys chose false, which is true, which is correct. And if you are the top two, so if you're the top two, Jay, Anna, or Varun, come see me after. You've won a t-shirt. Thank you for participating. And I have a quick little video to show and a little bit of a poll next. So, oh, also, just wanted to add, this was my prompt for the cat and the dog who are friends. And, you know, with like 10 words, I made a video or a picture that was like super convincing. So just goes to show like things have gotten a lot better than what we think with the like shiny picture and the weird little, you know, extra fingers or I don't know, extra ears. Look, I mean, looks pretty convincing. So, and all it took was 10 words. So just wanted to give a little example there. And
if you saw me online, would you think I'm real?
I really wanted to make our date. Could you just Venmo me some money quickly? This is the pill that can cure your cancer.
so I wanted to show a little video of like some higher capabilities. So if you look at the woman in the corner, she's the one making the movements, and the picture has been, and the sound has been fully generated over her voice and actions. So just wanted
I've been
to
locked out of my
continue.
account. I'm running in between meetings. Please just send me a link to get back in. I have no time to waste. It has never been easier than today to steal someone's digital likeness. Their voice, their face, their physical presence. And no one's digital identity is protected for by default. No proof of consent, no identity verification, no meaningful restrictions on high-risk targets.
Okay, so that was just kind of to show, again, this is like kind of some of the state-of-the-art stuff that's going on, where anyone with a video of themselves can make a video of anyone else. So in context of kind of the pictures that we saw today and the quiz that we took and the demo I just showed, just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, like, what do you think? What does this mean for, you know, the future of legal evidence or politics or public safety or even art? What changes do you see taking place? What's at stake? Or what questions do you have? And feel free to answer on that poll if you're still there. You can also rescan if you aren't. But yeah, just wanted to kind of hear from you guys. And it's a free response, so you can write as many words or as many different ones as you'd like. quite alarming. We should get off the internet. What is being done to educate people and children? It's a really good question. How do we protect ourselves from identity theft? Moving away from online digital privacy. Need to remove all my photos from the internet. All right, I see some people still typing, so if you want to wrap up your final thoughts. But these are really good observations and questions. We need more laws. Name of the software, Nano Banana 3, is what I made the picture with. Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys so much for participating. And if you have won a quiz, remember to come see me after. And otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the event and have a good rest of your night.
Well, thanks so much, Yara, and thanks to everyone for participating. I think this was quite eye-opening in the sense of how many errors we make when we try to distinguish between real images or videos and fake ones. So with that, I'm going to switch to some questions for our panelists. And again, you'll have the opportunity to ask your own questions later on. So first, I did introduce both of you, but just to learn a little bit more about your background and especially how your work connects to deepfakes. Whoever wants to start first?
Thank you, Radha, for opportunity to speak with the community. I'm Khalid Malik, as I was previously introduced. I'm a professor of computer science and director of cybersecurity at University of Michigan Flint. My research focused mainly on trustworthy AI. In 2018, actually in 2016, I was reviewing one proposal in NSF, which was about using generative AI to create a pathological images. That time I thought there is a chance that people will create, the deepfakes as well. That time the term was not there. And then after coming back here, I thought, okay, if image could be created, audio could be created as well. So videos in future could be created too. So we started brainstorming, particularly with one professor. His name is last name is same as mine, from University of Michigan Dearborn, and we put a proposal, rejected twice. People were thinking it's a fiction, but ultimately people, reviewers thought that this is going to be reality. So in 2018 we started working on the deepfakes. The main focus that we had in last few years is not just a detection of the deepfakes. We were trying to use trustworthy AI to explain why this is a fake. Particularly, we were trying to use neurosymbolic AI to help out decision makers such as attorneys and judges, because these decisions are very crucial. You cannot say, if a tool is just saying that it's real or fake, it's meaningless. So in the court space, we need to explain how this was created, what evidence we have based on what we are saying that this is real or fake. So since then, we are trying to focus on neurosymbolic AI to not only detect but explain as well. Another aspect that we focused was, which is again the pillar of trustworthiness, many of you know, was the robustness as well. Because in case of the media, it's very easy to introduce a post-processing attack, and even if solution has been deployed, people can use generative adversarial neural network to attack our solutions as well. So therefore, we were focusing on how we can bring in the trustworthy AI solutions. And then a couple of years ago, with the help of Innovation Partnership, we launched our startup as well. Our initial goal is to help mainly courts and insurance companies, but we were proud to say that we also helped the government of Japan as well, because they are also struggling with certain scenarios when people just give a fake cause that tsunami is there, and they have certain forces are being sent to help out the people where there was no need of help. So this is a little bit about what I'm doing. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cliff Lampy. I'm at the School of Information. You may have a question, what is a School of Information? Since that may not have been around when you're at the university. We grew out of the library schools. And having grown out of the library schools, we care a lot about integrity of information, quality of information, and how things work. So my own research there is actually at the intersection of computer science and psychology. And a lot of what I care about is how do technologies help people communicate with one another? And more often, how do they get in the way of communicating with one another? And so a lot of the deepfake technologies, but more AI technologies more broadly, fall into the line of research that I do, where it's technologies that mediate between how people interact with one another, right? How are they sharing information with one another? How are they making sense of one another? How are they communicating? How are they fighting? And increasingly, of course, it's more often how are they fighting with one another. Now, the deepfake technologies are a great example because they cover a really wide range of information quality issues. There's the political things that many of you addressed in your comments, but there's also things like fraud, right? My own mother-in-law was a victim of a fraud where somebody deepfaked her stepdaughter's voice, pretending to be in trouble, and had them send her money. And we see these kinds of frauds being more common. Some of my colleagues work on issues where nudify apps, where preteen girls are being nudified by apps like Grok, and that's a type of harassment that we see increasingly commonly. Those types of things are really common. Just yesterday, Congressman Ocasio-Cortez and Paris Hilton did a big speech on the Hill about this, right? So deepfakes play a really key role in this because they're on the far edge. They're the most sophisticated, I think, of the technologies that we see right now. And work like what you're doing is super important because it's an arms race, right, between the detectors and the new models that get past detection. One of the work I do looks at that, but it doesn't have to be deep fakes. AI slop is just as effective as deep fakes are often for this particular area, and that's the stuff that really excites me. I was in Facebook, I know I'm old, the other day reading a comment, and it was obvious AI slop where it's the president and the first lady somewhere in front of the Washington Monument, and they're holding a kid, and the people are like, oh, that's my president, right? It's so obviously AI slop. And when people were pointing this out, the folks who had defended the image were like, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that this is fake. And that is interesting. As a person who studies information quality, to me, that's such an interesting statement, that the truth doesn't matter, right? That the facts don't matter is such an interesting place to be and an interesting statement. That's the thing I find super exciting. We just saw with Nakima Levy-Armstrong, right, the protester in Minneapolis who was arrested for protesting at the church. The official White House social media accounts doctored an image of her being arrested, where in the original photo she's placid, but in the doctored photo she's shown crying. And the official White House showed the doctored photo, and when they were called on showing a doctored photo, they claimed it was a meme. It was a type of artistic expression or humor, right? Again, to me, that's an attack on information quality in the guise of humor. So for my research, kind of thinking about how do these technologies mediate how we interact with one another, man, it's interesting times, right? Lots of really interesting things happening.
Well, and interesting is, but just to step back a little bit, so we both pointed out that deepfakes are a more recent development. AI, of course, has been around for a while in various forms, but we've seen advances in more recent years. So maybe can you explain, I would say in broad terms, what are the advances that got us here? Like why is it that now it's possible to have this kind of deepfakes?
Well, all of us knows that AI, has made a lot of investment. We have a much better infrastructure, a lot of pre-trained models. Certainly, those are helping people to create more realistic deepfakes. But on the other hand, Now, tools are available. You answered already one question that, we don't need a technical skills. I mean, all of us can use tools such as 11 Labs to create, very realistic audios. One thing that I was observing that the quiz that you taken, there was no example of audio. Actually, audios are more difficult to differentiate. If someone is giving you a call, even your spouse, it's going to be very challenging to trust whether you are actually speaking with them. I always say a joke to my wife, we have a passcode, particularly when she says that, transfer money is something. I said, what's passcode? And one day she said, you often forget the passcodes. What if I go and call? I said, okay, probably that night I'm going to stay at hotel, I know. So, deepfakes are definitely becoming more and more realistic. And certainly we'll talk more about the solutions where they are, probably in the next question.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. We just see more computing power. We see more people training models, more companies investing billions and billions of dollars in more advanced models so that it's easier and easier to create deepfakes. It used to be, 5, even 10 years ago, a more technical skill to create these things, but now it's definitely not. And that's to even count deepfakes. I count deepfakes as using AI tools to emulate a real-life person. Right, and even more technically to emulate them in a live interaction, right, or in a way that will fool somebody. I usually think of a broader category where it's just anything that emulates a person or in a way, but all of those tools have become easier because of computing power, money thrown into the system, advanced algorithms, and things like that.
So with this, we've been seeing applications or hearing it in entertainment, in art, but of course you both mentioned quality of information, also possibility of harassment. What do you think are the most serious risks that we face with the deepfakes? And it's not that they are going to stop anytime soon.
Of course, we may say that fraud is 200-year-old problem. But the level of the frauds that are happening lately due to deepfakes are very concerning. We may say social engineering is also something not new, but generative AI, particularly deepfakes, have taken the social engineering also to the next level. So due to advancement of these social engineering techniques, there are more and more online frauds that are happening. You have already listened to some examples. But right now, the trust in the society is also at stake. For example, you have seen videos where someone is putting a parcel in front of the apartment. Another case, you have seen that someone is taking away. Just imagine if this is an evidence given to the court, how judges are going to make decision. By the way, we put this video in front of Supreme Court of Arizona in July 2025 probably. So majority of the judges were unable to make decision. Probably you are better than those judges, but the deepfakes quality is significantly increasing, and therefore the frauds are on the rise. And these frauds are not only eroding the trust between two individuals, but also between businesses and individuals as well. Imagine that we are submitting certain photograph for our home insurance. These days, most of time insurance companies trust us, but will they trust in future? It's less likely. Also, since COVID, we are doing online visits with the physicians, and we are also interacting with banks as well. KYC scenarios, know your customers, is heavily relying on the audio-video communication. But all of these trust between the consumers and the organization is at stake. So after talking about erosion of trust and fraud, while there are many other problems already, Professor have mentioned that, we have seen how Grok is being used to create the, nudify images. So social media misinformation, disinformation is there. Our democracy is at stake. We already talked about the courts. So I think these problems are going to grow significantly in years to come. I will leave rest of examples for Dr. Blum.
Yeah, and the fraud does scare me as well, right? And it's financial fraud, it's medical fraud, it's like all over the place. That's a danger. So oddly, as a information researcher, it's not bad information that scares me the most, right? As a consequence of this, it's the idea that everybody gives up on the idea of good information completely. Right? For me, and this great researcher, Kate Starbird at University of Washington, calls this manufactured nihilism. We just keep flooding the zone with enough AI, with enough deepfakes, with all of this stuff, confusing everybody, shaming them for falling for AI, all of these things, to the point where everybody gives up on the idea of truth altogether. Right? And just uses the thing they want to believe in the first place to determine what truth is or not. Right? That, to me, is the disastrous outcome that I'd like to avoid. That the idea that there is no objective facts, that there is no truth, that anybody, no matter, you just say the thing and the thing becomes true. Right? And that's where we see these attacks on science, we see these attacks on standards, we see all of this really in parallel with the deepfakes and everything, where there's no such thing as a set measure of measurable, objective realities that we can all agree upon, even if we don't agree upon what to do from that point. The idea that we can't agree upon some baseline and then disagree from that point on in good faith, that's, to me, what really worries me.
So we both have talked about the frauds, but lately another type of fraud is coming, which is remote hiring. Currently, it's believed that 1 out of 6 job applicants are fake. Most of you have seen an example of last year. One CTO was interviewing someone who happened to be from North Korea, but he was not using his original identity. It was a deepfake. CTO was a little bit technical, so he realized that this is a face swap, one type of the deepfakes. So he asked the applicant that, can you move your hands in front of it, because he knew that in face swap cases, the face tracking algorithm are going to struggle if the complete face is not visible. But guess what? These days, just a couple of weeks ago, a new face tracking algorithm has been released. Even if you hide half of your face, still the model will be perfectly imitating the face. So face swap quality has significantly increased compared to June of 2025. So remote job applicant definitely will bring more challenges in future.
Yes, and I agree. I think these are all on the scary side. I've been thinking also about the loss of trust, because we cannot really just have that attitude toward maybe digital information and change it. So we'll project that around things around us, people around us, even if they seem real. And also, like what you were saying, I think it's escalating in a way, and maybe we'll all need that passcode that you have in your family with the public key and private key. And that also, it's leading us to the next question, what to do about that. So maybe we can start talking about some of the technical solutions. What do you think would be ways to address deepfakes?
You're the technical solution.
All right, so many of us are working to solve this problem, but whoever is saying that they have solved this problem, I think they are not speaking the truth. It's a very challenging problem. Two types of communities are trying to address technical solutions. One of them is who are treating poison with the poison. So AI is being used to detect the deepfakes, and then some of us are explaining how we figured out that this is fake. On the other hand, there is effort towards watermarking and provenance-based techniques as well. Both of these solutions have their advantage and disadvantage. None of them is perfect. For example, in case of the AI-based solutions, very similar to other problems, we have a major issue of trustworthiness and generalization. So whenever we train our machine learning models, they perform really well in controlled settings. But when we take them into the real world, those solutions significantly struggle, and they are not robust as well to again to the post-processing attack. For example, a tool is saying this is real, but if you upload it on a certain device, or you upload it on a certain website or a social media, the artifact has been changed. So the same solution will not work now. So apart from generalizability, another major challenge we have is this arm race. We develop a solution, next day we have new type of generative algorithm. So the same solution struggles. And even if watermarking and these solutions are there, or if we update our solutions as soon as new generative algorithm is released, this still is not enough, because a lot of foreign actors can also create new generative AI algorithm, and they can easily deceive the existing solution. Now, this is one side of the solution that we can focus on, but on the other hand, there is a lot of effort towards watermarking and provenance-based techniques. It's a long-term solution, and the reason why I'm thinking long-term solution, all of us know that so far in last 25 years, we were unable to move from IPv4 to IPv6. So how can we say that all of us will start using the cameras and other devices that are provenance-based, or they are embedding the watermark? It will take a lot of time. First of all, they have just started to emerge, but we are not going to throw away our devices because the new provenance-based devices are available. So adaptation is definitely an issue for provenance-based technique, but on the other hand, they are good in terms of prevention. Since we look at both angles, we cannot say that provenance-based solutions cannot be manipulated, because we are saying AI-based solutions are not robust. Provenance-based solution, for example, we can remove the watermark as well, which is not difficult at all. There are various techniques available to do that. So none of these is perfect. This is the summary of the two type of effort that we are trying to make to solve this problem.
I hadn't thought of the encryption angle. That's great. I think that's a really positive one. I don't have a lot of faith in other technical solutions to this, right? Because all the other money is on the other side, right? The investment's not going into putting reins on these technologies. The investment's going into putting rocket fuel into these technologies, right? If I had my perfect solution, it would be to give my colleague tons of money so that we have independent researchers not working for these companies coming up with solutions that could create this tools on the other side of this arms race. But he's going to get swamped by the bucks, right? I think we need to get lots and lots of money from different organizations, hopefully the federal government, in his hands and in the hands of colleagues like him across the country. Oh, out of battery. Yeah, we're out of battery, I think. Oh, there we go. Better. Oh, got it. Okay, thanks.
I would say it's a little bit of a moving target. I think one analogy with spam, right? So spam, which is in text primarily, has been going on for a long time, and that has been a moving target, right? So every time we figure a way to catch it, there will be yet another way of passing those filters. So that adds to the challenge. And aside from technical solutions, there are also alternatives, or we hope there will be alternatives, maybe in policy, law, education. So what are your thoughts on that? Maybe we can start with you, Cliff.
Man, I'm coming off as a doubter here, and I'm also pro AI. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I am actually pro AI. I don't have a lot of faith in policy, especially in the United States, because we tend to have a very strong anti-regulatory regime. You can look at our privacy laws as an allegory to this. Europe tends to do a better job than us. As an example, their GDPR, their privacy law is much stronger than our privacy law. So I think if there is going to be strong anti-AI regulation, it's going to be at the European level, and often that spills over for us. States have been trying things. California has passed some laws in this space. I think New York has passed some laws in this space, but they don't have much teeth in them. So I don't have a strong faith in policy to solve this issue. I do think education can solve this issue, but that's a pretty biased perspective, right? I have a lot of faith in information literacy training, even despite the evidence that it has failed completely for the last 35 years. So I think new forms of information literacy training, trying to get these tools better and more capable, making us all better at detecting those images, that's probably the thing I have the most hope for.
Thank you. Interesting perspective. So I would say that technology alone cannot solve this problem. So definitely we need to combine this with policy, although as Professor Lamp has said, when we rely only on policy, it's not a proactive solution. Damage has already been happened most of the time. Particularly, let's suppose if there is a policy by a certain social media company that this should not be done or something like that, and those who are not following the policy, so essentially, they already have put the damage to the victims. However, still, I think policy can play a little bit of role. On other side, probably we should speak with our lawmakers. We should first of all educate them, because they are far behind than ordinary people when it comes to make the new laws. But in a nutshell, I would say that technology can definitely play a role. One technology will not solve this problem. We need to have multifaceted and multi-layered solutions combined with educating the people, developing good policies, and having good laws and enforcing them.
Interesting that you have no hope in policy. I was expecting the other way around, maybe more like a. And I would like to also offer a thought. Again, it will require a lot of participation from governments, but together with a former PhD student, Ashkan Kazemi. It was not in relation to deepfakes, but to misinformation, and I could see it extrapolated here to impose a tax on low quality information, so on deepfakes, and put that also on the side of the companies, for instance. So there are all these social media platforms that have interest in having those shared because they get revenue out of these deepfakes, right? So if there is a tax similar to pollution, right? So there is a tax on pollution, there will be a tax on information pollution. Maybe that could be something that will make people, and especially companies that are sharing these videos, more aware and paying more attention to the problem, and maybe being then incentivized to actually come up with solutions, not only the independent researchers, but the big companies themselves. All right, so just some final thoughts so this is our last question before we get to questions from the audience. In this space, it's been sort of rather on the pessimistic side as a conversation, but still, just to conclude with some more optimistic note, on an optimistic note, what is that gives you hope?
So I actually do have a lot of hope in this space. I work with a lot of undergraduates, and I have a 13-year-old son in middle school. The thing that gives me hope is that they are naturally accruing a type of information literacy that I wish everyone had, right? They're naturally suspicious without being nihilistic. They haven't given up on the idea of truth, right? They're looking for multiple sources to verify things, right? They don't take the first thing they see as being gospel. They are looking to verify. Trust but verify kind of is the watchword for Generation Alpha, right? Like they enjoy, playfulness, they enjoy AI videos, they understand the humor of it all, but they're not tied to that being truthful in the same way that I think previous generations of if you can see if you see it, you can believe it kind of thing. They understand the technologies at an inherent level, and they verify using multiple sources in a way that we've been trying to teach people to do for 30 years. So I think if we can leverage those natural abilities that they have, there's actually quite a bit of hope for people grasping great information in the future.
Thank you. Interesting perspective, but I have one counter argument here that most of the time the victims of fraud are not our youth. It's the elderly people who are not tech savvy. So we also need to educate them as well. Regarding the question whether we are hopeful or not, technically, I think we are, up to the mark so far, but there are a lot of challenges ahead. We are very similar to other challenges. We are making many hybrid solutions. For example, as of today, I don't know about tomorrow because generative AI is changing so fast. We cannot say what is working today may work tomorrow as well. Whenever we are exploiting the physics, we can figure out what is real. Also, those of you who are from the machine learning or AI side, we are sometimes not detecting the signature of what is fake. We are also looking at the physics to see what is real. So when we combine both approaches, we are doing reasonable job. I will not say the solutions are 100% perfect, but the solutions are quite reasonable. But developing these solutions requires a ton of effort because we don't have the trained people. Regarding technology perspective, I am hopeful that the way we have solved all other problems, we will be solving a deepfake problem as well.
All right, so now we are ready to take questions from the audience. So if you have a question, if you please raise your hand, and Vanessa will come and give you the microphone.
And for the folks watching on live stream, if you talk into the microphone, they'll be able to hear you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, very informative. I'm curious, after 35 years of failure of education, why you think that may work now. Is it because of the young people, or can you elaborate?
Yeah, I think part of why I think it'll work now is because actually the AI tools, we didn't really get into it because it's not the purpose of this talk, but it's caused a massive restructure in higher education and how we train as well, right? The students in the room will tell you, you can't teach without AI being part of the conversation, right? And it's caused us to, over the last couple of years, have to vastly recalculate how we help students think and how we help train them. I think that's going to lead to positives for how we move forward with the AI literacy thing.
I'm thinking about communication back in maybe the Middle Ages, when people would put wax seals on envelopes, and only one person had access to the seal. And the reason I bring that up is because of the materiality of that solution. And one thing that strikes me about all of these problems that we're dealing with is that they lack material. They're taking place in digital space, which has this quality of fungibility, and and projection and fantasy. are there solutions in materiality, in having bodies, in what we know about the nature of the universe, that there are certain constants in our universe? There are fundamental physical realities that seem to be trustworthy enough that we're able to call them physical laws. I wonder if, returning to the space of embodiment, such as we're in right now, to discuss this problem may hold some of the solutions. I'd like to hear your comments on that.
Nice analogy. Actually, you are pointing towards the provenance-based solutions. What we can do is, as soon as, say, White House is creating any audio or video, they can use watermark. They can encrypt that as well to maintain the integrity. In other words, they are trying to, in this way, we can ensure both integrity and authenticity. But on the other hand, this solution is incomplete. This will only work if we have standards, because everyone needs to follow the same standard, which is not easy. C2PA is one of the standards that was initiated by Adobe, and now many organizations are trying to follow. But adaptability is an issue, as we discussed earlier as well. Now, when we talk about the machine learning-based solution, definitely we are mostly focusing on law of physics. We know that a diffusion-based model, is trying to mimic. It's not considering the physical law aspect. Even, for example, you have seen one image where, the sunlight was present. It was present, but if we look at the angle of incidence, generative AI is going to fail there, as of today at least. So currently, we are trying to, bring the analogy that you said in both provenance-based solution as well as in the machine learning-based solutions.
I think at a broader layer too, I teach a class of 300 undergraduates, and we talk a lot about their digital lives. And so at a broader digital life layer, which I hear you kind of talking about as well, there's a lot of mixed feelings students have about their digital lives, right? And sometimes that's expressed as anxiety, and we hear a lot of talk about do their digital lives cause anxiety, and the jury's out on that. But I think there's a reason why, like with the Gen Z slang for getting a sense of, getting a grip on yourself is to go touch grass, right? It's to get a sense of that materiality and to get physical. I was talking to a great U of M undergrad yesterday who's made it his life mission to talk his colleagues out of being on TikTok, right? Like, it's to get in touch with, and what he does is he gives them Rubik's Cubes, right? He gives them a handheld device that's not digital to just keep them busy. And I think there's something about that materiality that's important.
Yes, I was wondering, you mentioned like GDPR and European policy and our lack of federal policy and states trying to do it. What about an organization like ICANN, which is already sort of internationally agreed to? Like, could they take on more, I don't want to say responsibility, but provide some structure for this?
We're passing the buck pretty heavily up here.
I don't know if that means it's a good question or a bad question.
I like ICANN a lot, but they're relatively toothless, right? Like they just don't have enough. With any kind of regulatory authority, you need to be able to enforce it. And my worry about ICANN is they don't have enough of an enforcement mechanism to hold anybody to account for that. But I like the idea of NGOs playing a stronger role in that. Like the Electronic Frontier Foundation has played an important role in setting like policy, at least what ideal policy around privacy is. Like an NGO like that for like AI policies would be good. Actually, the Screen Actors Guild did some initial work on this around authors' rights, around their likeness and everything.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. So I've got one right here.
Hi, thanks for the panel. This is really interesting. I wondered, you've been talking about digital images and audio. I was wondering about physical objects that need to be verified and safe. So, for example, pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we might put into our bodies that have been prescribed by our physicians. How do we, does deepfakes influence that? And are there ways that you all are thinking about how we ensure trust in that kind of product?
Well, normally we are talking about the digital objects when we are dealing with the deepfakes, but currently the solutions that we are developing are being applied to detect whether this chip is real or fake or not, because we are quite concerned of foreign actors, who are sending different chips here. So we want to verify that this chip is originally manufactured by manufacturer X, or this is a copy or something like that. But I'm not aware of efforts to detect whether this medicine is real or not.
Any last burning questions? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Hi, thanks for coming out today. My name is Justin Nolan, and I just had a quick question. I'll phrase it a little bit differently for each of you, but for Professor Khalid, my question is, which do you think is easier to prove, like a video, or a deep fake is fake, or to prove a video is a real video? And then maybe for the dean, your name slips me for the moment, I apologize. But which do you think is more important? Is it more important to determine a video is being real, or to accurately determine a deep fake is being fake, if there was ever the situation where you had to do that?
Interesting question. Well, this really depends who is the user. For example, in the court space, we should not just worry about what is fake, because even if an evidence is presented that's real, the other side may say it's fake. So in this case, we need not to only detect what is fake, but we need to determine what is real, and we need to explain as well. But let's take an example of Department of Defense. They have a very different challenge. They are seeing certain terrorist organizations are uploading propaganda, right? There are 1 million files that need to be scanned. They are not worried too much about explainability and stuff like that. And they are only interested mainly what is fake. So same is true about other domains such as insurance as well. So I hope that I answer your question.
I mean, that's really related to the answer to mine as well, right? Like when you think about, for instance, the shooting of Renee Good, right? Like a lot of the images that are surrounded about that, many of those were faked, but like even the ones that were true, people claim were fake, right? And so having some, like I said, some basis where people can say, okay, we all agree this part is true. Now we can disagree about what to do about that. Having some basis where we can all at least agree on the truth, that's going to be kind of the ground zero for how we move forward, right? And the explainability, the interpretability, the trustability, all of that's key.
I think as a side effect, it's also going.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, it's what was mentioned over and over, the loss of trust, but also not appreciating necessarily something that's exceptional in real life, right? Because we see all these extraordinary AI-generated videos, and we somehow erode our our way of getting impressed by something because we see too much of that. So I think that's another, to me, side effect. And I saw there were a few other hands raised. We will be around, so you can come and ask the panelists. So those who want to leave can leave, and those who still want to ask some questions, you can come by and ask to the panelists. We will have to leave before 8 when the library is closing. So with that, big thanks to the library for hosting us, also to our wonderful panelists and to Yara.